Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am Courtney Anderson. Today we have a program and it is the 186th show of Solutions with Courtney Anderson, and I am always just surprised actually as we move along in this show. And I thought when it started, I don't know, will it be something that I enjoy? Will it be something that other people find useful? And it's just exceeded and surpassed my goals and expectations. So thank you for being here for episode 186. Today our show is part of the Myth Warriors series. Of course, our Myth Warrior series is all about us, you and I. We are out there in life. What are we doing? Well, we're warriors. We are warriors. We are out there fully head to toe in our battle gear. We have a protective, defensive gear on to help ward off and repel any attacks. And we have our offensive weaponry. We are at the ready. What are we doing? We're out in life and we're attacking ideas and concepts. Okay? And we're trying to figure out, hey, is this something that's going to be helpful to me? Is this something that might be, credible or factual even? Or is it something that it looks like it's a lie? It's a myth. It's a falsehood. Because if it's a myth, if it's a falsehood, I'm not going to use that to make a decision, right? Because it's garbage in, garbage out. If I have bad information that I'm using to make my decision, I'm probably going to make really poor decisions. So Myth Warriors is all about that. What's going on and what's going to benefit us. Now, I always mention, or I try to mention in our programs, to come by CourtneyAnderson.com. That is our central website, and it's where, as I said, this program has taken off, and it's been surprising but it's been exciting too. So on CourtneyAnderson.com, and what we're doing is building out infrastructure to support the program, to tie it to the other things that I do, consulting and speaking and coaching, mentoring, also for people who might be potentially eligible for my legal services. There's links for them to pursue that, and there are blog entries and articles, and so that's sort of the main repository. So please come to CourtneyAnderson.com. In addition to sort of that's where everything is, it's also the place where there's an individual show page just for this show, where I add additional notes and links and anything that I reference, and it's where I'll keep coming back and updating any additional information that relates to the show. So please do come by CourtneyAnderson.com, and you can specifically stop by the page for this show, which is going to be episode 186, Myth Warriors. And the specific show title, I know you're waiting. What's the specific show title? I really want to come by CourtneyAnderson.com, but I don't even know what the show title is yet. Well, you probably do. You might have looked at the title before you started listening to the program, but the show title today is Failing to Plan is Planning to Fail. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Failing to plan is planning to fail. All right, so that's our specific show. So again, come to CourtneyAnderson.com. I also please encourage you, if you find anything helpful in any of our programs, to leave your ratings or reviews on iTunes or Stitcher or Spreaker or Libsyn or wherever it is that you're finding our program, and sign up, of course, for any resources that we have on our site for upcoming webinars or seminars or programs or courses, or our mailing list. So again, you're here, I'm here, and we're asking ourselves the question, hey, failing to plan is planning to fail? Is that a myth? Or, and the alternative, is that factual? And this is one of those things, this is why we do the series, right? Because there are all these sort of ideas out there. Some of them are cliches. Some of them are just sort of, sayings that you hear. And this is one of them, right? I think most of us, if not all of us, if we've heard it. And it's kind of got a good rhythm to it, right? Failing to plan is planning to fail. It sounds kind of smooth. Whether or not it has any meaning, I don't know. And that's what we're talking about in this show, but it just sounds good, right? And, it's a catchy slogan, or, one of the things that I think is really helpful is that we always tie what we're doing in an individual episode to the larger theme. So obviously we talked about what we're doing in Myth Warriors, this idea of sort of poking and prodding ideas and concepts to see, hey, are you something that's going to be helpful to me that potentially is accurate or good information, or are you just a falsehood or lie? The other thing is, I frequently mention this concept of surpassing our goals, right? So you surpassing your goals. What I mean is, whatever it is in life, do it. And when you do it, just don't do it to some sort of minimum level. Exceed that. Surpass that. And so this idea of failing to plan is planning to fail. My short answer, and I have an article on the blog about why I don't usually like the answer, and definitely these short absolute answers. I wrote about why, but I'm in the interest of the show, state explicitly what it is. Failing to plan is planning to fail. That is not a myth. It is not a myth. It is accurate. Let me tell you why I think so. So often in life, when we talk about this in many other programs, so if you've taken advantage of some of our programs where we sort of explore, right, the philosophical and the existential aspects of, us, what we do, whether or not we have free will, and all of these types of issues. My argument is, for the time being, right now, based on the information that I have and my understanding of that information, that we're going to go ahead and behave as if what we do has an impact in life. Because the alternative is for us to do nothing and just sort of sit around like, hey, it doesn't matter whether I plan to fail or fail to plan. Whatever happens, happens. It's beyond my control. I'm just going to, breathe. By breathing, that's all I can try to do. Beyond that, if I'm, quote, successful or not, if I make money or I lose money, if my health is, improved or not, doesn't matter. Nothing that I do matters. That may actually turn out to be conclusively supported as substantiated at some point in the future, where it turns out that I'm inaccurate. I don't know what will happen in the future. I do know that if that's a decision that we make, then it renders our entire life useless, because whatever we do doesn't matter. So for many reasons, like I said, we talk about this in other shows more lengthy, but my current advice and practice, personally, what I'm doing in my regular life is behaving as if I have free will, and behaving as if that free will that I exert has some impact on the outcome. So all that's to say, one of the things that we talk about a lot, we talk about many of the issues between behavior, we talk about behavioral conditioning, we talk about outcomes. All the time I talk about outcomes, right? Because I'm making the argument that what we do is related to what happens, right? I'm making that argument. So I'm making the argument that if it's raining outside and I'm aware that it's raining, I have good data. So I look on my satellite, website where I see what the weather is, and it says, sure enough, yep, it's raining and there's a storm right where you are. And I look out the window and I do observational data and I say, oh my goodness, I see rain. It is wet. And then I say to myself, you know what though? There is no relationship between that situation and whether or not I get wet. There's no relationship between what I do, like put on a raincoat, grab an umbrella, open the umbrella. There's no relationship between those actions that I take, my own independent actions, my free will, and whether or not I get wet. Right? Now, I'm saying that we're going to go ahead and act as if we have free will. So what we're going to do, we're going to collect all this data. Oh, observationally, it's raining. I've looked at the satellite imagery on my smartphone or my, news or, and the meteorologist, I see, yep, sure is, it's raining. I've confirmed that with my observational data. Additionally, I'm also listening, right? I'm hearing, what is it I'm hearing? I'm hearing rain, raindrops hitting the building I'm in. All right, so now I'm going to get my umbrella. I'm going to open it. And I'm going to go stand underneath it and carry it while I'm outside. For what reason? So that I don't get wet. Because I'm believing that the act of doing all that research, opening up that umbrella and carrying it has some impact on whether or not I get wet. That's what I believe. Now, like I said, whether or not that's, proven later to, quote, be, the truth or not, I'm open and we're waiting to see what happens. But that's what we're doing when we look at life and all of the things that we talk about in all these programs. So this issue of whether or not we fail to plan equals planning to fail, I'm arguing that it's not a myth. I'm arguing this is accurate. And it's something that fascinates me. How many times And I use a lot of stories from when I practiced law full time, and of course I still do so with a more select group of clients, mostly just because I only have so many hours in the day. But when I practiced law full time, I took every client I could, and it was my small business, and I was really just starting out and trying to grow it. And so you learn a lot about human behavior because you see people in these really sort of average situations, right? Life is happening. Oh, I got married. Oh, I'm getting divorced. Oh, I had a child. Oh, having a child custody fight. Oh, I was walking down the street and uh-oh, the police arrested me. Now I have a criminal case. I need a lawyer to help me. So just kind of regular stuff, right? And it amazed me the amount of clients I would work with as a lawyer who would have the same type of problem happen over and over again, especially in criminal cases, right? So somebody's broken up with their boyfriend, right? And my client is the person who's currently facing, right, criminal charges. Like they've been arrested for what? Because they keep going over to the person who broke up with them, their boyfriend's place, and trying to, I get in their mind, they say to me, well, I'm just trying to make them, see that they're wrong, that they want me back. And so they, stand outside, they yell and scream at the person. This was a while ago, so it was before we had smartphones. I can only imagine what these cases are like now. But before you had smartphones, people would just send the equivalent of a text message or an SMS. They would do that just with physical paper a lot. So they just send letters and notes and stick notes and stuff all over people's places, stick notes on people's cars, do that at people's jobs. But the same idea, right? So they get arrested for this. In many parts of the world, it's a crime to what they call stalk somebody, where you're just stalking them, right? Literally like hunting prey, and you just won't let it go, right? I want you to know I love you. So I'm out there all day and all night, and I'm standing outside where you live, and I'm waiting for you when you leave to go to work, and I'm standing outside where you work, and I'm putting 15 notes a day, on your car, and I'm leaving them in your, in your office. It's like, come on, right? So the person's arrested, and so I'm trying to explain to them, hey, we're having a problem. And the problem, of course, is that now they've been arrested. They have to, deal with whether or not, a judge will, sentence them to some sort of punishment that they don't feel is appropriate. And it would amaze me how people would explain to me that there's nothing that they could do. They'd say to me, look, there is nothing I can do. What the heart wants, the heart wants. And I'd say, well, yeah, hey, who hasn't had that happen, right? I mean, I could probably spend the rest of my life just sitting around talking about, which nobody would be interested in, I haven't done, wouldn't do. Sitting around talking about, my heart and broken hearts and what my heart wants and the excitement of, my heart and all this kind of stuff. I get it, right? I'm not arguing with her about that. What I'm saying is that you have actions, right? Like the thing where you stand outside where they live and you yell and scream and you send all these notes, and that's the part we're talking about, like the behavior. And they'll say, yeah, but I don't really need to do anything. And I'm like, yeah, but you have done something. Like you keep having a plan. Your plan is to keep doing the same thing you've been doing. And it's working. Like you're getting attention. Now, your part of the attention, of course, is from law enforcement and criminal justice system, but you are getting results. You're not getting the result you said you wanted. The result you said you wanted was your boyfriend to take you back. He's not doing that, partially because he's mad and embarrassed because you've been screaming and yelling and the police were called and you came to his job and embarrassed him, and you've done it with, in his neighborhood, in front of his neighbors, and like now, whatever he did feel that was positive, it's been replaced by this negative situation because of what you keep doing. But I think it helped prove my point. You have a plan. I really want to underscore this. You have a plan. Oh, yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do. Any part of your life right now that you would mention, I would say and continue to make the assertion, you have a plan. If you said to me, I don't have a plan. I don't have a plan for my exercise or fitness because I don't do anything. All I do is, sit in my comfy chair and play video games and watch reality TV and surf the internet and go on social media and put likes on stuff I like and then go, read about cartoons that I'm interested in. If you said to me, I don't have a plan because I don't do anything, I would say to you, that is your plan. My argument is action is action. And what tends to happen, I think, is that people want to think, well, a plan is, I look at the calendar and I say to myself, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to the gym or go walk around my, where I live or ride my bicycle, and I'm going to do it 3 days a week and all this kind of stuff, right? People think that's a plan. And people think if I'm not doing anything but just laying around and I only move, when I have to go to the bathroom, I get up and go to the bathroom, or when I'm hungry, I get up and get something to eat. That's all I'm doing. People think that's not a plan. That is a plan. action is action. All action is action. And you would say, well, it's not action if I'm not doing anything. I'm saying that is action. Not doing anything is action, because you are doing stuff. You're still breathing. The moment you stop breathing and your heart stops circulating, pumping and circulating, through your body, then you won't. Then at that point, your physical body, as we understand it, will end. But until that happens, you're doing stuff. Now, what you might be doing is laying around in one place all day and all night because you don't move, other than when you have to use the restroom. Some people are in a situation where they set it up where they don't have to move when they use the restroom, right? Right? You attach apparatus so that, hey, I don't even have to move at all. My point is, it's still a plan. And it's not like there's some sort of thing where you get the calendar and you're like, oh, I'm going to get disciplined and now I have a plan. Everything you're doing is a plan. And I think, to me, that helps underscore why this actually is not a myth. Now, what this is saying is that failure to have what I'm going to insert an effective plan, right? An effective plan is one that helps us surpass our goals. So if we said failing to effectively plan is planning to effectively fail, I think that might be a little bit more accurate. The point simply is this. If you say, hey, I'm not, if you say to me, well, I really do want to get in shape. I want to make sure that, that my body is, in the best physical condition, and my heart, and I'm not doing anything to make it worse, right? That I'm not clogging my arteries, and I'm not making it harder, for my lungs to function, by smoking cigarettes or whatever. If you said, I really am interested in that, but I don't have the time, and I have stuff to do, and I don't have the money to go walk around and do exercise, or, it helps me, be less stressed out when I smoke my cigarettes. All of that's a plan. It's not going to be effective, meaning it's not going to get you what you say you want. And the thing I think that's fascinating about this show and this specific concept that we as myth warriors are showing, it is absolutely not a myth, is that I think people get caught up in, they don't want to admit what the real plan is. If your real plan is that I want to poison my lungs and inhale those addictive and yummy, and I'm saying this as somebody who's never been a smoker, right? So, but I think I get it, right? Like, it's anything that we abuse, and that causes us harm. It's sort of the same idea. In your mind, you make a calculation that whatever, quote, good outweighs the bad. And so if it's one of those things that, once you start smoking is why it's so hard, right? People like myself and I'm using this as an easy example, I've just never been one. I think as a teenager or something, at some point, when you're a teen and experimenting in life, I think at one point I might have tried to inhale a little bit on a cigarette, but it was so nasty, it just repelled me kind of permanently. It was just so nasty the way I interpreted it. Somebody else might have interpreted it and said, that's yummy, I love it, give me more. And then, of course, there's, from what I read, very elaborately well planned and designed addictive qualities so that people keep smoking. Because if you sell cigarettes and people don't buy them, then you can go out of business. So that makes, from a business perspective, I'm not arguing the ethics of it, but certainly in terms of just structurally, you need to have revenue. So my point is that if somebody said, hey, my plan is to enjoy the addictive things in the cigarette, that, the nicotine, it does give me some sort of benefit, I feel better, or it helps me with my anxiety or whatever, and I don't really care, what happens to my lungs or the rest of my body, then I would say, okay, then your plan is actually effective. But we don't do that. So like I mentioned, as a lawyer, I'd see, so the client who's like, oh, what can I do? I don't know why he keeps calling the police on me. And I'm like, he keeps calling the police on me. Your ex-boyfriend keeps calling the police on you because you keep coming in his house and his job and everything and screaming and yelling and leaving 35 notes a day on his car. And he wants you to stop. That's why. And the person, oh, there's nothing I can do. The heart wants what the heart wants. What can I do? And my point is, she actually had a very effective plan. It wasn't a plan to make him be her boyfriend again, because obviously she's destroying that by her continued disrespect and refusal to even listen to his request that she stop doing these things that are embarrassing him in his neighborhood and at his job. But that's not really what her plan was. Her plan is to get his attention. And that, she's winning. And once you start getting arrested, this is the thing I saw as a lawyer that fascinated me. I saw it in criminal, but mostly in people's family law cases when people get divorced or they're fighting over their kids, the custody and stuff. What people really want is the attention of that person, right? They want to see them, because the worst thing that can ever happen to us, and we did a show about this, is the silent treatment, right? When somebody just totally, they're done. We don't hear from them, we don't see them, nothing. That's the thing that drives people, insane with desire. Why can I get your attention? We want attention, we're humans. So I would see this, and I asked some of my clients because I was so curious. I've never been in a case where I've gone to court and fought over child custody, so I was curious, right? Just like I said, I've not been addicted to smoking, so I was curious. I asked clients, basically, is part of the thing that you like about going to court and fighting over who gets to see the kid and who pays, for the kid's dental braces and all, who pays for the, kid to go to summer camp and all the things that you keep going to court over. I said, as part of this that you that there's some level of enjoyment because it forces, you force the other person to come to court. So since you're there and they're there, it forces them to see you. It forces them to see you and hear you and all this kind of good stuff. And I had people basically, explain that, yeah, that's exactly what it was doing. And then I kind of understood it a little bit more because it doesn't make any sense to keep spending money on lawyers and having to, miss work and make childcare arrangements to keep going to court, which happens in the States. In the U.S., the courts at the same time, it's during the workday. So you got to really move your life around to be able to stop everything and go sit in a courtroom all day, or for hours and wait for, your case to be called and then go in front of a judge. All this is incredibly time consuming. But I didn't understand the emotional part of it, which was that the person is going to see. They're going to see their ex. And for a lot of people, that's worth all of it. So they'll complain, to me, oh, I have to pay you and I have to go to court and I got to make arrangements, but they're always going to be there, right? Because it's not about the lawyer or the judge or the law or any of that. And sometimes it wasn't even about the kid. It wasn't even about the thing that they were arguing over. It was really just about a proxy. It was a way for them to be able to see each other. And that's what they wanted. And they actually were getting it. So there are people and there are cases that they keep going to court the whole time that child is alive. So for 18 years in the U.S. until the child is, most jurisdictions, until the child is an adult, you can still keep going to court over who's going to pay for, whatever school thing and, who's going to see the child on whatever day. And that goes on up until they're 18, they join the military or they get married or they're emancipated, which is when you go to court. And even though you're younger than 18, you prove to a judge, hey, I need to be legally declared an adult, because I have special reasons. And there are people who do that. They're in court that whole 18 years, sometimes 19. The kid's still in high school, right? So it's amazing. And I didn't understand that what it is that they have a plan. It's just not the plan that they're admitting. Their plan is, I'm going to see this other person and get their attention, right? And it's working. But they won't say that. What they'll say is, oh, my plan is to have this over with. I just want to put it behind me. I just want to move on. That's not the truth. Because what they're doing is getting the opposite of that. And by watching people over time in this framework that we're pretending that we're acting as if we have free will and we're acting as if it has any impact on outcomes, just like we use the umbrella, right? It really is amazing how powerfully effective this is. So when we say failing to plan is planning to fail, yeah, because your plan is failure. The thing is, you just haven't articulated exactly what your goal is. And what I'm saying, and the thing that, again, that fascinates me is if we were more honest, if you just said, hey, I don't really care about my cholesterol. I'm not particularly interested about, any of the other, impact on the rest of my organs. I just want to eat high sugar food. It makes me, I get the rush of the sugar release and I'm addicted to it. It makes me feel better. So I'm going to keep doing it because that's what I want. Then I think you get better outcomes. Instead, people will say, well, I just don't know why I'm having all these problems. And, it's like, well, yeah, look at what your diet consists of. And you don't have any, physical movement. So, yeah, that's why you're getting bad outcomes. But the truth is they actually aren't concerned about the bad outcome. They'll say that because that's what the culture or the society or their doctor wants to hear. But it's not accurate because if it was, they'd just change their behavior. And this brings up, now this just happened in real life a few days ago. So real life, when I say real life versus some sort of hypothetical example, I'll give you a sort of a generic example. So real life, I go to my doctor, right? My primary care doctor. I'm just getting my regular checkup. So nothing, wrong. But you go to the doctor and get your checkup and, whatever it is, once a year or something. And so most of what I'm doing is working, Now I'll be honest though. And I've mentioned this in other programs. what I do to abuse myself sometimes is, and it's only under certain emotional situations where I'm something is highly stressful, is carbohydrates, and specifically bread. So not carbohydrates like pasta, but only it's literally only bread. Certain types of bread, carbohydrates, especially those that have sugar added. So you're saying like a donut, any kind of like sweet bread, right? Um, that's the thing I abuse if I'm given the opportunity to do so. And so because of that, the one thing, and I'm not kidding, like the one thing that the doctor was mentioning to me was I really need to watch some of the cholesterol because I have actually, low blood pressure, which is a totally different type of situation. I've got other, things that are atypically, not a problem necessarily, but I know exactly what it is. And I had been, and I was telling the doctor that right before I had this recent blood test, I'd been abusing. I'd been abusing those sweet breads. I mean, I knew what it was because it's the only thing that that's it, right? And so we had a little talk, and basically the doctor was telling me she was saying something along the lines of, I'm not, something like there's medication, and then we were talking, and I said, well, I don't need medication. I said to her, if I just monitor and stop abusing by overeating these specific sweet breads all in one sitting, or in short periods of time when I'm under emotional duress, that should result in lowering the number back to normal. And she was like, yeah, basically. I mean, not a guarantee. Nothing's guaranteed. I'm not saying my doctor guaranteed me anything. I'm saying in general. In general. Just like in general, if I was a cigarette smoker and I smoked, whatever, 2 packs a day of cigarettes and then I stopped smoking, in general, could that often result in lowering the damage to some of my body due to the cigarette smoking? They would say yes. I mean, this isn't magic. And so, and we were talking, and I said to her, well, why would anyone want medication when all they have to do is just eat, more balanced food? Not that I can't eat my sugary breads. I just need to eat a small enough amount because of the high amount of, sugar and carbs and that I, so that a little of that moderation, right? But not sitting in there in here's a whole box of sugary sweet bread, right? Like, what are you doing? So, and I'm thinking, well, that sounds so weird. Like, why would you want to get on medication? And we were talking a little bit, and she was saying something like, yeah, because once you start that medication, and assuming you don't change what you're eating or doing, in terms of your environment, then you're on that the rest of your life, right? And I'm thinking, wow. But that's a plan. So if someone said to her as a patient, I'm not ever going to stop eating whatever it is, for me, if I said, forget this, in fact, I'm going to start eating more because, I get the rush of the sugar. I'm going to eat sweet bread from here until my last meal. And I'm going to eat as much as I can, right, till I'm sick. Okay. All of this very unhealthy. But if I said that, and then I said to her, so you just got to give me more and more medication, again, that would be a plan. So I think what my argument is that, yeah, this is absolutely accurate. We've attributed this show topic to Benjamin Franklin. Fascinating person, an American, and certainly, like I said, lived a very long life. Benjamin Franklin, just like I said, really fascinating person. One of the things I've mentioned I do for fun in many different programs is I love reading nonfiction, right? So I like reading things that aren't fake, right? Nonfiction. And I love reading biographies and the rare, credible autobiography of people who've done really interesting things. And so Benjamin Franklin is one of these individuals that definitely, no matter where you are in the world, you'd like to learn a little bit about, because what an interesting, fascinating, long life he led. So the idea, right, failing to plan, planning to fail, this is not a myth. My question I ask often is, who's in charge? It's your life. So just be honest about whatever your real plan is, and then this will make even more sense. And I think the argument here is it's trying to motivate us, right? To realize that if you say, hey, I'm not going to ever look at how much money comes in, my personal budget, I'm never going to make a plan, I'm just going to spend everything I get whenever I have it on whatever I want, just based on whatever I feel like. And then people would say, well, because you did that, you failed to have a financial plan, now you plan to fail financially. You could argue, well, yeah, but the truth is you actually did have a plan. Your plan was to not have financial independence. We talk about in our financial fierceness series. We talk about the difference between getting to a point where money is never anything that you're stressed out about or worried about. It's just something that you monitor and that you manage. That's why they have whole jobs called money managers. What do you think those people do? They just manage money. Once you get to the point of financial independent, you might have to move money around from one vehicle to another or whatever, but you're not ever worried, oh, I can't pay my bill, or I don't have enough money for this or that. It's not like that at all. It's a totally different lifestyle. But the question is, what do you want? So if you say to yourself, hey, I understand that all action is action, and I understand that if I'm not going to make a plan, right, then that's the plan is for me not to succeed. I would also, what I've kept saying is that you need to be more honest about what you actually are planning to do. So if your real answer is, hey, I just want to eat or smoke cigarettes, overeat, abuse food, abuse my body. If I just want to abuse my body with, cigarettes, if I just want to, if I'm just insistent that I'm going to keep, seeing somebody who doesn't want romantically to be with me anymore, but by using the legal system, I'll keep doing it, whether I'm arrested or I'm using our child to keep going to court to see each other, whatever, then your plan actually is a plan. It is working. And what I think I'm trying to do is go beyond this idea of people thinking, well, just because I didn't pull out a calendar or write something down, then I don't really have a plan. My point is everything you're doing is a plan. It's your plan that you made up. And you can lie, and people do this, and I don't get it. You don't ever have to lie. I respected when I was sharing with my medical doctor that sort of conversation we had. I kind of respect that her patient who says to her, you know what, I may have high cholesterol, but I'm not going to change anything I'm doing because I like it and it's working for me and that is my plan. So if you want to give me some medicine to try to lower it a little bit, fine. But I'm not going to change my eating or any other thing that I'm doing. I kind of respect that because that person is saying that is my plan. Now you would say, well, but they're failing to lower their cholesterol, but their argument is that really isn't their goal. If that happened, fine, but that's not their goal. And what I'm saying to you is, whatever it is you're doing or claiming you're not doing, that is it. That's your plan. And again, very pop culture, that we get this. It's in many media outlets, right? The question, how's it working for you, right? Is it working? If it is working, then you're surpassing your goals, and then let's talk about how to continue to deal with that. We have a whole series where we talk about once you surpass your goals and you're quote, really successful, what do you do to set new goals? We'll talk about it. I would think it's destructive to set goals that hurt you, right? A goal that destroys your physical body and potentially shortens your life and or creates medical conditions that are going to be very painful and cause great suffering to you. But if that's your choice, it's your choice. And of course, you always get the argument from people. They'll say, well, I knew so-and-so, or my great-great-uncle, and they never smoked at all, and then dropped out, dead of lung cancer. Or so-and-so I knew, and they exercised all the time, and then they were hit by a bus. So what did it matter? Okay, I get it. But again, I said at the outset of the show, if your argument is that nothing that we do has any impact on what the world as we perceive it and outcomes, then that obviates all of this. It's not even a discussion at all. Do literally nothing. You can't do partially something. So if you're a believer and it doesn't matter because I'm gonna get hit by a bus, then fine. Then absolutely, then don't do anything. Don't pay a bill. Don't work. Don't do anything. If you buy that doing something matters, then you're all in my mind. So if you're saying, well, I'm gonna smoke cigarettes, but I work, I pay my bills, I have a budget, I volunteer, all this other stuff. I'm saying, why do any of it? You can't have it both ways. You have if one of these is accurate, that nothing matters, or or what we do does matter, then you can't sort of mix it. And that's what people do when they'll say, well, it doesn't matter if I watch my cholesterol because I can be hit by a bus. Well, no, it's silly. You're already on board because you went to the doctor to begin with. I don't know why somebody who thinks and believes in the philosophy that nothing matters and we have no free will would be at a doctor at all. It would be totally a waste of their time. What would it matter, right? So it's contradictory and it's illogical. And so I'm assuming as you're part of this program today that you have some perception that something that we do has some impact. And thus, the question of is failing to plan, planning to fail? The answer, of course, is, well, yeah, this is not a myth. My point is that even if you fail to plan, obviously that's your plan, which is what that's what the saying says, right? I failed to plan. I didn't make a plan, so now my plan is to fail. I just was interjecting throughout this discussion that there are a lot of situations where you have a kind of a secret, hidden, covert plan that you don't want to tell anybody, right? Which is to enjoy cigarettes or sweet bread or not exercising or whatever, or seeing your ex, and that's the real reason that you're doing what you're doing. And then you always try to, you don't want to say that publicly because I guess you're embarrassed, but own it. I'm here admitting my problem, with abusing myself with the sweet bread. I just did it. So, we have no secrets. Remember, secrets make us sick. And just own it. If the truth is the reality that your plan's working, then own that. And then, as I said a few minutes ago, you want to look and see how's it working for you and do an assessment of, hey, what kind of outcomes am I getting by this, right? So this is not a myth. This is accurate. You have a plan because whatever it is you're doing or not doing, all action is action. My question to you is, what's the outcome? Is there anything you want to change? And if so, then let's get moving on that. But I enjoyed you being here today and being part of the program. As always, please go to CourtneyAnderson.com and look at all the different things that we're adding, and I'm not kidding, daily, to content, to programs, to resources as we build out new infrastructure. And I please ask you to stop by some of the sponsors. You'll see different sponsor placements on the site, and please click on those. If there's a product or a service that you think, oh, I was looking for that, go ahead and purchase it through the links on our website, and also leave your positive and or constructive reviews and ratings on anywhere that you access our program, iTunes or anywhere else. And of course, share the show on your social media. Just share it. Put that link out there and share it. Let people know. And thank you for being part of the program. And whatever action you have, all action is action. You got a plan. The question you have to continue to ask yourself, monitor and be vigilant, is it getting you what you want? Thank you for being part of the program today.